Principle 2 is bring in the good, and it has to do with your physical body. Imagine a motor car. It is just a mechanical machine. It's filled with pipes, tubes, and a wiring system that connects everything together. For it to work, it needs petrol, which is produced in a laboratory out there with a formula that must be exact. So if you drove your car anywhere in the world, you never have to question that formula. They have to stick to it so that your petrol will be exact. You couldn't put diesel in a petrol car to make it work. Neither could you be driving back to your destination, take a rag and jam the exhaust and continue driving and expect to get to your destination. You will not, simply because when that machine takes the petrol to make energy to be alive, there is a byproduct called waste, which must be thrown out from its exhaust. And if you block it, that waste comes back in the engine, and the engine dies of its own poison, auto-intoxication or self-poisoning. Now, that machine, that car, is a copy of the design that your body is. This vehicle of your soul is filled with pipes and tubes and a wiring system that connects everything together. But it is not composed of metal like that car. It's composed of living organisms called cells, about 50 to 70 trillion of them that compose your body. There's over 200 groups of highly specialized cells that make up this body. For example, this group of cells can see, but they can't smell or taste or hear. They're all cells with similar DNA but do different things. So what an amazing machine. It is composed of living organisms, each one a complete unit of life. So here is your body, or a representation of your body. And each one of these organisms, living organisms, if you can imagine an ant that scurries about, it's a complete unit of life. These don't scurry about, but they're just like that, complete units of life, taking in energy and throwing out waste. Each one of them can do over 100,000 things in any given moment. They're very busy, very intelligent. They make this entire machine work so coherently and efficiently. So if you can help them to do just 2 of this 100,000 things, you'll be able to determine by just a plan that I will offer you now how long you'd like to live and the quality of life you'd like to have. For example, if you're 55, then perhaps you want another 45 years more to live as a man or woman of power and grace, and get to 100 and sit there with clear eyes and wisdom and be able to share the story of being human with the future generation. So the first of the 2 things is that each of these cells make energy for them to be alive, to do the jobs that they have to do. And they have a mandate from their creator, which is nature or God, to do this job for a long, long, long time. If they all stop producing energy simultaneously, you call that death. When you touch somebody cold, no energy, no life, they're dead. So when they produce energy all the time, we are alive. And the second thing is that the dream of one cell is to become 2. By a process of mitosis, they divide and multiply. And in any given moment, there's 5 million old cells will die and 5 million will be born. It's called regeneration or rejuvenation, to make new again. So all we really have to do is just help the cells do 2 things. Make energy so that we can be alive for a long time, and to divide and multiply in an environment that will be conducive to them being healthy. But the question arises, how do they do all of these 100,000 things? In particular, these 2 things which we should help them to do. You see, they're surrounded by fluid. In fact, submerged in fluid. And there's about 20 liters of this biochemical in an average human body. This fluid surrounds each cell, hugs it, protects it. It's your immune system. If you recall, at one time we were told to fortify our immune systems against any virus, bacteria, pathogen, or any COVID-19. But here's the nose, eyes, ears, and ask the average person, where's your immune system that you were meant to fortify? And they will answer very vaguely. In fact, not many people in the world know what their immune system is. So how will you take care of your immune system? Because if you did, you never had to bother about a virus or a bacteria. I said in my book 20 years ago in Being Human that the virus and pathogens will recycle human beings simply because it is produced by the same creator that produced your body and mind for a specific purpose, to recycle dead and dying organisms and keep God's garden clean, which is this planet. Let's just quickly look at what the immune system is really. Here is your cell. It's surrounded by this fluid, and in this fluid is your lymphocytes or your white blood cells, your soldiers. And if a pathogen or a virus now entered your body to consume the cells, it would need to get past these soldiers. But these soldiers now, when this fluid is perfect, will be healthy and strong and will be able to destroy a pathogen. When this fluid is perfect for your body, and when I say perfect, I mean it is measurable in a laboratory by way of pH. This fluid should be 7.4. When it is 7.4, it is slightly alkaline, slightly soft, gentle, beautiful. Number one, if your biochemical, this 20 liters of biochemical in your body, if it measured number one, you would not be alive. It will actually burn a hole through this bone into the floor. Going up to 7 on that scale, it gets weaker, and by 7 it's neutral. You can actually bath in it and you'll be very happy. 7 to 14, it's more alkaline. So from a harsh, bitter, sour, angry acid to a soft, gentle, more malleable chemical called alkaline, this fluid is 7.4. It's slightly sweet, soft, and beautiful. And it's perfect for each and every cell in the body to do their 100,000 things. If it is 7.4, your soldiers would be powerful. They will be able to consume any virus or pathogen entering your body. But if this fluid had dropped into the acid range, sour, angry, and bitter inside, these soldiers would be weak. That COVID-19 or any pathogen for that matter would go past your soldiers and break the cell wall and enter the cell and now start to consume the protein within that cell, and themselves start to divide and multiply by mitosis, then explode the cell wall and infiltrate all the surrounding cells and thereby recycle this dead and dying organism, simply because this fluid wasn't able to sustain healthy soldiers to protect you. This fluid also supplies everything that the cells need to make energy, and then we're alive. It also supplies everything to the cells so they can divide, multiply, and life can continue living itself, besides the other 100,000 things. So how important is this fluid to your body? You'll have to agree. It's vital, it's very important. I mean, if I took a fish out of the ocean and threw it onto the sand, it will die. If I made an incision here and drew out this 20 liters of ocean from my body, these little fish too would die. Have an accident, bleed out, and you're dead. So the question arises, where does this fluid come from? How is it produced by you on a daily basis? And how is it maintained? Because just like we said that petrol in the motor car has to be exact, this should be exact. So how should it be maintained at 7.4? Those are the questions we have to answer now, and this will then help you to understand what you're doing, and perhaps you have to make some changes in your lifestyle. So the question arises, how do we make this fluid on a daily basis? So imagine again the Creator that says, "Go, my children, bits of what it is that I am, spirits, souls, come and visit the earth plane. For that, you'll be given the gift of physical bodies with which to experience the gross sensuality of being human. But inside your body, says God, I will do everything for you. It will be so busy, you will never be able to count how many things happen simultaneously. Even if it gets cut, it will know how to heal itself. All I want you to do, says this amazing wisdom, to take care of the greatest gift I give you, is just 4 things. And do these 4 things how I, wisdom, wants you to, for your cellular requirement or for your body's sake. And these 4 things that you have to do, you can remember like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. You must eat, drink, breathe, and think according to cellular requirements. And these 4 things actually is the formula to produce your blood. You may question, just 4 things I have to do. Yes, of course. If you don't think for your body's sake, you'll step into the street, the bus will run it over. Have you ever tried to stop breathing, or you don't drink, or you don't eat? The body will die. So all 4 things are necessary for us to do in order to be alive. So let's take a quick look how we do these 4 things. And once again, I use my 2 hands as guidelines for how to do these 4 things. The first one, eating. The Creator says, eat those things that I made for you that are natural and from the trees. And the devil on the left-hand side says, eat from the factory. So before you eat or drink anything, ask a simple question: is it from the tree or is it from the factory? If it is from the factory, you're going to have trouble in the lavatory, because this sticky, gooey, pasty stuff, the devil doesn't want to leave the body. It wants to stay in here and rot the body from inside out. And in a short while, we're going to learn also that the laboratory to produce the petrol for the car is out there somewhere. But the laboratory to produce your blood, which is the petrol that drives the vehicle of the soul on the freeway of your life, is produced in a laboratory within your body, and we'll take a closer look at how that happens. So I have just 2 guidelines for eating. I've simplified it in a way that helps me to manage the laboratory, which is a long piping system, my digestive system for eating. Right hand side, tree, factory. On this side, pipe cleaning, because it is a long system. And on this side, on the left hand side, pipe clogging, food. So if you just take, for example, this plate, and if you're eating meat, let's just say it's there, a piece of meat, it's on the left hand side, it's pipe clogging, it's acid. And for me, I just categorize all cooked food as acid and pipe clogging. On that plate is a heap of salad. It's on the right hand side, it's alkaline, it's pipe cleaning. Okay, and there's some half-cooked vegetables here. It's on the right-hand side. It's pipe cleaning. So that plate for me is acceptable. If you eat that, and of course, because you're using a laboratory that is a long piping system, and you're responsible only on 2 ends, on this end and the lower end for this laboratory, the rest inside your body is done for you by this higher wisdom. It's very intricate in there. But you're just responsible at the top and the bottom. And both places, people are making a mistake. So the top end, you're supposed to chew your food until you drink it, because there's no teeth in the stomach, unless you know some of your friends who do have teeth in the stomach. So you have to bring in this food, this plate of food now, chew it well until you can drink it. Then you have pipe clogging acid, you have pipe cleaning alkaline, and half-cooked vegetables and so on. They combined will help it to go through by peristaltic movements and exit the exhaust system very effortlessly without having to sit in the toilet like most people do for 20 minutes. Used to be grunting there with a newspaper or a magazine, but that's changed to sitting with the smartphones now on Facebook or WhatsApp, and then grunting with the effort to try and evacuate this stuff out. And if that doesn't work out, most people trot off to a pharmacy and get a dynamite and try and blast their way through with laxatives. So that plate is very important: pipe cleaning, pipe clogging, tree or factory. The second thing is that I have to drink to produce my blood, and the blood then is 92% water. Every animal on the right hand side drinks water. We're the only species have to decide between a Coke or a Diet Coke and every other synthetic material that we put into our blood to make petrol. Perhaps we're actually making diesel. I've seen sometimes on my rare visit to a restaurant where families are sitting around a table and a little child in a crib is reaching for these synthetic drinks that are lying on the table. And I can only cringe just to think that I too, when my kids were little, didn't know that I didn't know that I didn't know. As future generations get worse, we don't know that we don't know that we don't know that we don't know. Ignorance is the biggest disease on the planet, and as a result, confusion from that. One is saying this, another that, a third one, don't worry about this, to do this. So in order to be able to get to a place of clarity, I simplify it. This is blood. This is the truth. Your blood never lies, and you are responsible on a daily basis for producing your blood. If you think about it, where did that first drop of blood come from in your body? It must have been from your parents, right? One dark, stormy night, two people got together, a sperm cell and an egg cell joined, and a fetus started to form in your mom's womb, and the first drops of blood from your parents, and the first drop of blood in their bodies from their parents, and so on and so on. So the first drop of blood that formed in your body, how old do you think it really was? If it was handed down, and lineage is true, as Prince Charles would argue that blue blood is handed down over generations. It could be as old as these hills. It could be as old as time itself. And right now you're the custodian of the truth that flows in the blood in your veins. And all you have to do is to do 4 things to make it. And I cringe now when I think about what I have done to my own children because of my ignorance. And the only redemption I have now is to live my life as an example so that my grandchildren can look up and say, there's something about him that is different from others. And there's some wisdom there that we can clutch on to. Because where are the wise old women and wise old men in today's world? Many of us have become doddering old senile people sitting in front of TV, eating rubbish out of microwave ovens, living on medication and just trying to make it through the day, dragging our bodies around, bleeding, oozing and passing. 95% of the world's population lives in disease, misery and medication dependency. And for the first time in human history, medical science is saying the young of our species may not outlive their parents. And there's a 40% increase amongst children with cancer. And we see the evidence of that in our center. So think about it. All you have to do is 4 things. How are you doing it? What is happening to your child today? Because whatever you go out and procure and prepare will make healthy blood, bone and tissue, or you'll be feeding them their future arthritis, cancer or gout. So here's the second one on. You have to drink water, at least 2 liters, filtered or boiled and cooled, with a slice of fruit or vegetable just to flavor it if it is boiled and cooled and not so palatable. But that water, according to science, 600 million years of evolution, the amount of water that was in the planet at that time is still the amount of water today. It's been through so many transformations from ice, vapor, rain, going through the tree, becoming a fruit as I eat it or I drink it. And when I drink my water, it's like 600 million years of evolution, just diamonds and sparkles in there that's going in to make my blood. I refuse now to pollute my blood with what I used to do to myself before when I was sick and dying at 25. And now at 65, I am planning another 55 years just based on this simple biological plan to get to 120 and then decide from there what's the next plan. And yes, I do feel like I'm 25 nowadays. It's only when I look in the mirror sometimes I get a bit of a shock and think, who put this old man's head on this body? Because every other time I'm just behaving and living as if I'm 25. So drink 2 liters of filtered water each day. Maybe use your urine as a marker. It shouldn't be that yellowy, orangey, frothy, stinky, as many people come to me, even children now with kidney failures because of what they're drinking. It should be a semblance of clean spring water, slightly yellow because pH of urine is 6, which is acid. Then you have to breathe 9,000 liters of oxygen per day. The average human being breathes only less than 1/3, 3,000 liters. Most people's abdomens have become so big that it pushes up against the diaphragm and the lung space is taken up. So when they try to breathe, it's inadequate. Besides, it's not your lung that breathes, it's your brain. When you're stressed and you're thinking a million things all the time, then your lung goes shallow breathing, because when you're stressed, it's an imaginary predator after you and you're breathing shallow. So each breath in pipes and tubes that should be clean and mucus free. And if you didn't breathe this 9,000 liters per day, it will take me half a day to tell you how many things go wrong on a cellular level in your body. Each breath you take, 20% has to go directly to your brain, this computer, to run this entire organism. And if you don't breathe your required amount, your brain has to steal from the rest of your body, and you feel tired, fatigued, irritable, and angry just from not breathing adequately. Yes, I know you're going to ask me about the pollution in the air. Here in South Africa alone, there's 55,000 deaths per annum from air pollution related diseases. It's the world we live in. It's a toxic world, and you have to find a way to do these things to the best of your ability, according to how Mother Nature wants us to. There are different techniques for breathing. I like the Wim Hof method of breathing, and I admire Wim Hof because he is, for me, what original species should be. We have become just pale facsimiles of the original, and we have to learn how to be human all over again. Then you have to think, of course, right hand, left hand. But I know you're going to get up tomorrow morning at 3 a.m. and you're lying in bed thinking. Each thought you make, you're producing a chemical. Right hand thoughts, good chemicals, flood your bloodstream and make this feel relaxed and enjoyable. Left hand thoughts, but you're going to think all those things that are bothering you at 3 a.m. and you're pouring these chemicals into your bloodstream, making diesel instead of petrol, lowering the pH here, and these guys will cringe. They're taught. And you may never know what it means to be fully relaxed, simply because you haven't learned how to do these 4 things, like I didn't know how to do it for most of my life. Each day, you produce your blood, and each day you have to learn how to do these 4 things, no matter who it was from the north, south, east or west, whether he's a black, white, blue or human being that comes from Timbuktu. Each one of us just does 4 things to produce this 20 liters of biochemical, and it's meant to be 7.4. If it is 7.4, it is perfect for your 50 to 70 trillion cells in your body. How do you think they would feel if this fluid was 7.4 and perfect? happy. One word. That's what every human is searching for on this planet. And like we've been shaped, chiseled, and geared from birth to reach for happiness from three things outside ourselves, from someone. Make me happy. Love me. If you don't, then I will hate you. Or something. Oh, I've just got this and it makes me so happy. But the next day, you see a newer model of car and you think, oh, I'm not so happy anymore. Or someplace else. The kitchen's too small here, let's get another house, then we'll be happy. So we fall into the if-then mode of life where we're reaching for happiness outside ourselves from someone, something, someplace. Constantly. That's all we're doing. And yet, there's a biology for happiness. It's 7.4. And if it is so, all your cells are peaceful and I'm happy and I'm sitting there and I'm content. Someone may come by and says, please sir, buy this new watch and then you'll be happy. And I'll say, no, thank you very much. I'm sitting here and I'm being happy for no reason. What? You're happy for no reason, you must be mad. Yes, of course, in this world we have to reach for happiness somewhere outside ourselves. And someday when we're messed up, they will tell us, go look for happiness within yourself. It's all gory within there, but now you know specifically 7.4, and you are responsible by doing these 4 things to produce that. But for a moment, imagine you didn't do these 4 things according to how God wanted us to. You did it on the left-hand side. And if you go and investigate how you do these 4 things, you might find out that nearly all 4 of them you're doing on the left-hand side where the devil is. And if this falls below 7.4 into the acid range, how will these cells feel? Happy or angry? Of course, angry, because it falls into the acid range and it's inflammation. And if it starts to inflame and cause pain in my toe, will I reach down there and say, I've got a terrible headache? No, that's ridiculous. Let's call it gout. And when it eats away in the hinge joint of my knees, let's call that arthritis. And in the shiny surface of the ball and socket joint, as it pits away there, let's do hip replacement. And it comes into the soft tissue here. And as they divide and multiply, the DNA splits into 2. And it's a huge chemical process. Sometimes there's a variation. And that can be very beneficial for an organism. It's how come you have a white rabbit in the snow and a brown rabbit in the desert. But their pH is 7.4 and it's exact. See? But if our pH was less than that and it's dividing and multiplying and it mutates into an abnormal cell, it is now being fed by toxic waste to continue dividing and multiplying as a tumor. We call that cancer. Lung cancer is the #1 cancer, breast second, and colon third, all the soft tissue being eaten away by toxic waste. And what's amazing to note, that if this was 7.4 and the cells divided and multiplied, and if there was an abnormal cell, that cell will commit suicide. It's called apoptosis, because it does not want to harm the rest of the organism. But that's only when you're 7.4. If it's not 7.4, it will mutate into cancer cells. Okay? So here, frozen shoulder, tennis elbow, arthritis, cervical spondylosis, can't smell, can't see, can't taste well, can't hear too good, the brain is foggy, and the whole machine basically is shutting down because we got diesel instead of petrol. And very soon you'll find out most people with the exhaust that's blocked from constipation. How far will you go on the freeway of your own life? Of course, then, what shall we do in this world? Let's call that gout. Let's call this headache. Pink pill here, blue pill there. Brain scan, x-ray, cut here, cut there. It's big business. It pays for somebody's houseboat, car, mistress. and we become stuck in their trade. It's called the healthcare system, but if you listen to a lie long enough, you'll think it is the truth. It is a disease care system, and they're perfectly equipped to deal with diseases. I doff my hat. It's an amazing, marvelous institution out there. But they care for your diseases, and they're just amazing at that. This is your healthcare system. The only way you can care for your health is for you to learn how to do these 4 things according to how God wants you to. But the devil on the left-hand side is very clever. He knows what you want. You want 3 things. It must taste nice. It must feel good in your mouth. Oh, these chips are nice and crunchy, not soggy. And it must be quick to prepare. Put it in your mouth and you say, oh, that's so good. And the devil says, yes, I know, come back. I've got a new flavor for you. And I've even put it on the TV. And if the whole world eats and drinks the same thing, you'll think it's normal. So will your 2-year-old. And if the whole world gets sick from it because they have diesel instead of petrol and blocked exhausts, with the devil sitting inside here fermenting the body from inside out, hang on, let's call that a pandemic. And in the world we live in, you gotta sanitize, you gotta social distance, put your mask on and wait for a vaccine. Oh, this vaccine's not right, maybe the next one. But in the meantime, the virus might enter here and recycle you and keep God's garden clean, this planet, from dead and dying organisms. One life, this is it. Maybe there's future ones, maybe there's been past ones. I'm not sure, but I'm sure about this one. Right here, right now, I'm on center stage, so are you. We're busy doing a dance. How's it going? Are you hobbling? Are you bleeding, oozing, passing on stage? Are you sick? That is a mistake, because diseases are never meant to be a condition of being human. It is our birthright to live disease, misery, and medicine free. We were never produced by a Mother Nature or a God to be sick and dying creatures. So let's take a look then at the 3rd principle, which is throw out the bad, and we get an idea of what it is we should be doing to help ourselves recover from diseases.